What do you see in Whipple's disease?
They always have cardiac manifestations, cardiac symptoms, or what's it called? Some neurological symptoms too in Whipple.
Okay. How is
Sites
it
and
different? Yeah,
histology with
go.
sites in the lamina propria, and
Mhm.
also the macrophages, which are foamy macrophages, and the
Mhm.
pus positive stain will be there.
Exactly. So, how do you differentiate Whipple's disease and tropical sprue?
That's tropic areas most commonly seen, and
The thing is
No,
that yeah, the location is very important. So you have duodenum that's very much involved in the Whipples, and for the jejunum that's tropical sprue. Again, increased risk of cancer. What type of cancer is increased in Whipple's disease? Come on,
Is malt?
yeah. Maltoma. Again, you have an increased risk of maltoma in Whipple's disease and tropical sprue. You usually do not see that. Again, the location is also very important of patients where they're coming from. So, the location of the GI tract is very important. The other thing is that the location of the patients that where they're coming from. Okay, what do you see in Crohn's disease? What's Crohn's disease?
Like
inflammatory bowel disease is a type,
All right, and what's
it,
but
happening?
it affects all parts of the GI, starting from their what's it called?
it's
Very
it's it causes a transmural inflammation is seen in Crohn's,
Mm-hmm.
and there are the multiple fistulas, keeping fats, and the cobblestone appearance of the mucosa. These are all the findings, and also the stricturing, narrowing, or the string sign we can see on the barium swallow. These are all the features of the Crohn's,
good. Mm-hmm. Very
and
like
good.
it
also the
involves all the three layers of
non-caseating
the.
granulomas, and causes the transmural involvement. All the layers will be involved.
And it's very important, the skip lesions, and also the fact that it spares the rectum, the rectal sparing.
Skip lesions.
Very good. What happens in A beta proproteinemia?
It's like the fat is not made like in the liver, like chylomicron, something like that.
Mhm.
Is
What
the
else?
carrier proteins, lipoproteins, which are the carrier proteins, I think they become deficient.
Mm-hmm.
So because of deficiency of lipoproteins, it develops.
Very good. Again, A beta lipoproteinemia is very important. We will teach you this in the biochemistry section, so it's okay if you do not know this as of now. But remember that usually, if there is a young boy and he's presenting with bulky and greasy stools, and you kind of see this in the picture, so that probably gives the A beta lipoproteinemia diagnosis. Again, in Crohn's disease, that occurs in usually later stages of life. It does not occur in infancy. Chronic pancreatitis, again, there are no features suggesting the patient has chronic pancreatitis. Whipple's and Zollinger-Ellison are again two different diseases. So these all diseases are very high yield for you to remember. They get asked on USMLE step 1, 2, and 3. So kind of go through them. They're very high yield. All right. Next question. So what's happening? Gastric lavage fluid initially contained blood but cleared quickly. Upper endoscopy shows a linear mucosal tear at the GE junction. Where do you see usually linear mucosal tears?
Mallory-Weiss syndrome. Mallory-Weiss
Very
syndrome.
good. Very good. All right. The process directly responsible for causing this patient's mucosal tear will most likely result which of the following acid base. So usually that means that the patient, if you see tears, what does it mean?
It's caused by, forceful like vomiting or retching and stuff. That's what causes it.
Exactly.
So the
Excessive.
So what?
vomiting will most likely lead to alkalosis, metabolic alkalosis.
Mhm. Yes, metabolic alkaline.
Yes. So again, if you vomit and your stomach produces acid, right? So if you're going to vomit, that means you're taking out all the acid from your body through the vomiting. All right. As a result, alkalosis is getting developed in your body. Again, what type of alkalosis will it be? Metabolic or respiratory?
Metabolic.
Metabolic.
Very good. Again, remember it is hypokalemic, hypochloremic metabolic alkalosis. All right, your potassium levels will also go down. Okay, that's very high yield for you to remember. Again, the difference between Mallory Weiss and Borhave is that the Mallory Weiss is a partial tear, whereas Borhave there is a complete tear of the esophagus. In Borhave, you will usually see crepitus crunching sound. You will see, when you auscultate the chest, you will hear that there are crepitus and crunching sounds. Again, esophagography or CT scan, that's very high yield in terms of what to do, on how to find out. That's very diagnostic. Upper GI endoscopy you do for Mallory Weiss tears. Again, Mallory Weiss can heal, but for Borheve, you usually need emergency surgical consultations. Again, they too are very high yield for you to go through. Their presentations are very important. And again, like I said, whenever you vomit, you get hypokalemic, hypochloremic metabolic alkalosis. Your potassium levels also go down. All right. Then we come to the next question. So whenever I told you guys that whenever you have a picture, like a lab picture, you first of all go and see what's wrong in the labs. All right. Are AST and ALT elevated or not?
No.
They're not
No.
elevated.
Normal.
What about AKP? Is it elevated?
Normal.
No, normal.
No.
What about bilirubin, albumin, total protein? Is there something wrong within the picture?
Bilirubin is high, 2.8.
Direct
It's
bilirubin
direct
and total
bilirubin.
Total
bilirubin
is
is
high
high.
and direct is also high.
Bilirubin is high.
Okay, I need you guys to give me one cause of increased direct bilirubin and one cause of increase in indirect bilirubin. Come on.
For direct, you have Roto syndrome, or you have Dubin, and for indirect, you have what's it called, hemolytic jaundice of newborn, or you can have
Anything with hemolysis cause indirect bilirubin.
And the biliary atresia and the extra hepatic causes the direct increase. Direct bilirubin will be increased.
there's Crigler-Jaggers or something for indirect.
Very good. What else?
For indirect, is also indirect disease of newborn, Crigler-Jaggers, and Gilbert's. No, Gilbert is stress induced.
Again, so the causes of any increase in indirect or unconjugated bilirubin, the primary cause is hemolysis. For any hemolytic anemia, you will see indirect bilirubinemia, such as there are a lot of genetic disorders that involving the abnormal RBC, such as sickle cell disease. In any sort of infection, for example, malaria, it also causes a rise in indirect bilirubin. Any sort of blood transfusion reactions, you will see that. Okay, there are also liver dysfunction, for example, Gilbert syndrome, hepatitis, cirrhosis. You may have neonatal jaundice. So those are the causes of the increase in indirect bilirubin. For the cause of direct conjugated, it may be, so hepatitis is the only thing that can cause both increase. Okay, so your conjugated and unconjugated both will increase. So do not confuse this that, oh, why is one not increasing and the other is increasing, right? Both will increase because hepatitis is the only condition where you will have a mixed presentation of both the conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin. Okay, so remember that. And any sort of liver damage will cause an increase in the direct bilirubin. Any sort of biliary obstruction, such as gallstones, cholecystitis, cholangitis, Dubin-Johnson syndrome, Rotor syndrome. Okay, so I gave you like a lot of causes for direct and indirect. It's very high yield that you kind of differentiate between them in your head. Okay, so we go down. So there is this 20-year-old man. He comes to the clinic due to intermittent episodes of self-resolving jaundice. All right, his symptoms are not provoked by any particular circumstances. All right, CBC is within the normal limits. This is the lab picture. Liver biopsy shows abundant pigment inclusions in the lysosomes of the otherwise normal hepatocytes. Electron spin resonance spectroscopy reveals that the pigment is composed of polymers of epinephrine, metabolites. Which of the following is most likely cause of the patient's jaundice? What's happening?
Since I think since there's increased what's it called pigments and also the epinephrine metabolite, this is dubin. Because dubin, remember the difference between dubin and roto is dubin has the dark liver. So since it's direct bilirubin that's increased, it's going to be problem with excretion.
All right. So what everybody else agrees with the answer?
Option A, I think.
Yes, A.
Yes.
Option A, yes.
All right. Okay. Let's go and see. Yes, we were right. So it was Dubin-Johnson syndrome. As I said, that Dubin-Johnson causes increase in the direct conjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Again, what do you mean by Dubin-Johnson? That it's an autosomal recessive disorder that causes defective hepatic excretion of bilirubin glucuronides. Again, it's autosomal recessive, which means it's genetic. Okay, what if the clinical picture was of a girl used to take a lot of stress and she had self-resolving episodes of jaundice? Then what?
Is it Trotters, like the other one, the milder one?
Wilson.
Not
Wilson.
Gilbert.
If it's yes, Gilbert.
Very good.
Stress.
So it would be Gilbert. So a girl who is taking a lot of stress, for example, they will give you a clinical vignette of a girl who's studying for her exams. She has been up the entire night and she's taking a lot of caffeine. And her friends notice the next day that she is having jaundice, right? So, because of stress, this is happening to her. So usually they're talking about the Gilbert syndrome. Again, it causes an increase in the indirect unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia. Again, you do not treat Gilbert syndrome. What do you treat? You only treat Rotor syndrome. Okay, so even Dubin-Johnson you do not treat, but you only treat Rotor syndrome in this. Okay, all right. Then we go to the next question. So this was a barium solemn study is performed and reveals an abnormality in the upper esophagus. All right, what's happening? What's this?
It's
What's
the blind
happening?
ending pouch.
A
which is-
pouch.
It's the
A
blind ending
diverticulum?
pouch of the esophagus, upper part of the esophagus, and it is
Mhm.
arising from the posterior wall, going posteriorly. So it is the Zenker's diverticulum.
Zenker's diverticulum. Yes.
Very good. What's the differentiation between Zenger's diverticulum and Meckel's diverticulum?
Zenker's is
Back
false and
position.
Meckel's is true. True diverticulum.
And also the for the location, also the location.
Zenker is mostly in old males or old people, and who's because of the
False.
laxativity of their esophagus, so the food just accumulate in the backside of the pouch.
Mhm.
And Meckel's is
Zen-
most likely in infancy or or early adulthood, and painful stools like bloody stools.
Very good.
Zenker's is
And the
also
Meckel's
false.
true, and
Meaning,
others are the false diverticula. Only the Meckel's diverticula is true diverticula.
Very good. So Zenker's diverticulum is a false diverticulum, meaning it only involves the mucosa and the
Mhm.
submucosa layers of the wall, not the muscular layer, right?
Yes.
And Meckel's diverticulum is a true diverticulum because it is involving all the three layers. All right. Again, we know that Zenker's diverticulum usually occurs in old people. And why is it happening? Why is the Zenker's diverticulum occurring? Because of the weakness in the pharyngeal wall. All right. They might ask you that where is the weakness happening? So it occurs in the pharyngeal wall, especially in the Killian's triangle, which is kind of a gap between the cricopharyngeus and the thyropharyngeus muscle. Okay, so in between the cricopharyngeus and the thyropharyngeus, there is a triangle called as a Killian's triangle, and because of the weakness in that pharyngeal wall, this diverticulum or the outpouching occurs. Okay, this is a very high yield thing that which I told you they are going to ask you this. All right, so kind of note it down or memorize it, whatever. But they will ask you this. All right. Again, symptoms. We know what are the symptoms of Zenker's diverticulum. You will get difficulty swallowing, you will have dysphagia, you will have regurgitation, you will have halitosis, which is also known as the bad breath, foul smelling breath. All right, they can have a possible neck mass as well. The complications will be you can aspirate anything because if there is a diverticulum, any food or it can go into it and it can get stuck over here, right? So you may have any bleeding, aspiration, pneumonia. Then the treatment is to kind of take it out. For Meckel's diverticulum, we know that Meckel's diverticulum, it is a true diverticulum, and again, it is the remnant of the fetal omphallomesenteric duct. All right, that connects the fetal into the yolk sac. Again, it's asymptomatic, but it can cause abdominal pain, bleeding, or any sort of obstruction. Again, there are a lot of complications of Meckel's diverticulum. The primary complication is intersusception. Yeah, intersusception is basically the telescoping of the intestines. Again, you have to treat it. All right, so this was the thing that I gave you, and overall, oh, they asked you this over here. Okay, which of the following mechanisms is most likely cause of the symptoms? What's happening?
Cricopharyngeal motor.
Cricopharyngeal motor dysfunction.
Motor dysfunctioning of the cricopharyngeal muscle because of the weakness.
Very good. See, I told you over here that they may ask you about this. So cricopharyngeal motor dysfunction, again, it is a underlying mechanism of Zenger's diverticulum function. All of these things I told you. See, I told you that aspiration is an important thing. All right. You can aspirate and you can develop aspiration pneumonia. You see this over here. So whatever I tell you, just write it down or memorize it, because it's very high here. All right. Okay, so if you kind of go through down, again, these are the same things that I told you. Due to muscle weakness in the posterior hypopharynx forming a false diverticulum, again, these are the things that you may get. All right. Okay, next question. Okay, the pathological finding at the lead point is shown in this. All right. What's this?
Stomach.
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 All right. 2-year-old girl, ED, intermittent pain. Patient also had a bowel movement that appeared tinged with blood. All right. Ultrasound shows an area along the ileum in which the proximal small intestine is telescoped. We talked about this earlier. Okay, what's happening? Reduction via enema is successful. Laparotomy is done. What's happening? Very easy. What happened?
Intersusception.
It's the Meckel's diverticulum, which is causing the intersusception. Intersusception. It's the Meckel's diverticulum.
Very good. So it is the Meckel's diverticulum. We talked about this in the previous question as well. That Meckel's diverticulum, most common pathological lead point. Again, it is because of the incomplete obliteration of the vitelline duct. So another thing is that this diverticulum contains 2 types of tissue. Okay, they want you to know about gastric tissue and pancreatic tissue.
Pancreatic. Yes.
Very good. These 2 things, but they can ask a lot about ectopic gastric mucosa. All right, it can also cause ulcerations as well. So they can give you in terms of, oh, she started bleeding. All right. So because of the ulceration of the gastric mucosa, that is a part within the Meckel's diverticulum. Okay, so they can give you that as well. All right. So we talked about this again. So this is very easy. So how do intersusception is treated? Intersusception, you give enema, and so you kind of reduce it through enema. If the enema is not successful, then you take the patient for surgery. All right. Okay, you see colicky pain in Meckel's diverticulum. See, you have intermittent pain in the abdomen. So you have colicky pain as well. So that may suggest that the patient is having Meckel's diverticulum. All right. Then we go to the next question. Okay. The patient undergoes an esophageal manometric study that demonstrates periodic, simultaneous, and non-peristaltic contractions of large amplitude and long duration. Which of the following is most likely pathogenesis of the patient's esophageal condition? So we have a 32-year-old man. He comes to the office due to intermittent dysphagia for solids and liquids. Okay. So remember this, that the progression is very important. Okay. For example, if they say that a patient had liquid dysphagia and he subsequently developed a solid dysphagia, then that means that they're most likely talking about cancer. All right, if it is progressive in nature. But if if it is occurring at the same time, then what does it mean? That there is some other pathology going on, that there is a mass, any sort of obstruction, or any other pathology that's going on that is non-cancerous. Okay, but progression is almost likely suggestive of cancer. Okay, so for solids and liquids, he has no significant past history. His father has a history of esophageal. See, now they have given something to confuse you as well, right? So physical examination is unremarkable, and these are the findings that were found. What do you think is happening?
It's achalasia.
Achalasia.
Achalasia. Okay, so what is the answer?
C.
Um,
Impaired neural inhibition.
Okay, very good. Okay, so again,
mhm.
consistent with diffuse esophageal spasm, DES. Again, you have non-peristaltic contractions on esophageal manometry, corkscrew appearance. See, intermittent solid liquid dysphagia, that's going to happen at the same time. So you see, they try to confuse you with esophageal squamous cell carcinoma as well. Whenever something is progressive, it's always cancerous. When it's happening at the same time, it is other pathology. All right. Okay. What happens in systemic sclerosis in terms of esophagus? What's happening in esophagus?
In systemic sclerosis, there is
Stricture.
the fat apposition, the fibrosis of the muscles, and the muscles get atrophied, smooth muscles get atrophied, and there is the gut wall showing the fibrosis.
Very good. So you see how in Zenger's diverticulum they mentioned Killian's triangle. I already told you this in the first question that they can ask you about this. They will ask you this again in any other question. All right. What do you mean by eosinophilic esophagitis?
It's related to autoimmune or
Chronic immune mediated.
and it is atopy. It is also with like associated with any kind of atopy. Any person who has history of that.
Like
Eczema.
asthma, and yeah.
Allergy, asthma, atopic.
Oh, very good. So whenever they're talking about eosinophilic esophagitis, they want you to know that the patient has some history of atopy, asthma, and you will also see the eosinophilic count that's very much increased. Again, the treatment for this is to remove the triggers. All right, remove triggers and it will kind of self-resolve. All right, then we come to the next question. All right. So the BMI is very high, oral mucosa is pink, cardiopulmonary examination is normal, leukocyte count is 4,200. EGD demonstrates linear shallow ulcerations in the lower esophagus. Okay. So 48-year-old man, worsening retrosternal pain, dysphagia, ododynophagia. All right. End-stage renal disease. He underwent cadaveric renal allograft transplantation 8 months ago. All right. So now he has fever, epigastric tenderness, linear shallow ulcerations. What's happening? What happened?
Actually, the patient having the end-stage renal disease, so it's immunocompromised, and in immunocompromised patients, we have the ulcers are the kind of linear shallow ulcerations. They're seen in the cytomegalovirus because of the cytomegalovirus, and we can differentiate it with the herpes simplex and the candida also. But these are the linear one. Linear ones are the characteristic of cytomegalo. If the ulcers will be rounded, small, then it will be the herpes simplex. So in cytomegalo, we see the NAS cells with intranuclear inclusions.
Yeah. Again, very good. So whenever they're talking about any transplant patients, they mean that they're talking about immunocompromised patients. CMV is going to happen in any sort of immunocompromised patient, transplant patient. Usually they're talking about transplant in terms of CMV. All right. So you see linear ulcerations in CMV, herpes simplex is also really important. 3 viruses, 3 things that they're going to test you: HSV, CMV, and Candida. All right. So these 3 things they can test you. So kind of know that what type of presentation it will have on esophagus. So that's enlarged cells with intranuclear occlusion. Again, it's very easy. So nothing to go through. Okay. All right. Then we come to the next question. Laboratory results reveal myelonemia, upper GI endoscopy shows diffuse erythema of the antral mucosa. Biopsy reveals an inflammatory cell infiltrate involving the superficial mucosal layers. The underlying cause of the patient's current condition can also lead to which of the following? All right, 36-year-old woman comes to the office. She has vague gastric abdominal pain, nausea, bloating, no weight loss. She has moderate obesity, chronic allergic rhinitis, not significant. She was vegetarian, all right, but now she consumes a wide variety of foods, including meat products. The patient has traveled abroad extensively in the past. She has mild epigastric pain to deep palpation. What's happening?
It's like ulcer, duodenal ulcer.
Very good.
Some gastric ulcer.
Very good. So
And then the gastric ulcer can cause maybe lymphoma. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Like they
if
say,
left
Lymphoma because
untreated, it can progress to gastric lymphoma.
yeah,
but then there is
because
also
they say
one
the
specific
biopsy.
thing,
They say the
like when
biopsy reveal an inflammatory cells that infiltrate, involving the superficial mucosal layer. So because of this, we know that there's something growing there. So that's why I said gastric lymphoma.
okay. So we all agree with gastric lymphoma?
yes,
Okay. Again, very easy question that atrophic gastritis. So either you have H. pylori-induced chronic gastritis, you have autoimmune gastritis. Again, autoimmune gastritis you can occur due to vitamin B12 deficiency because they talked about mild anemia as well. So that means they're referring to pernicious anemia in terms of, or in reference, I'm sorry, in reference of autoimmune gastritis as well. Again, I said that a lot of autoimmune diseases kind of go together. So I think they did not mention anything. Okay. So autoimmune diseases go together. So the patient has antipredominant gastritis that most likely gave the presentation of H. pylori infection. Again, you always have to check the gastrin levels. If you do not check it, then they will kind of go through duodenal ulcers. What ulcers are more dangerous? Are they duodenal or gastric?
Gastric.
Duodenal ulcers are always
gastric,
benign.
gastric,
Gastric ulcers
gastric
are
always
malignant.
related with adeno.
Duodenal are benign.
Gastric.
And there in this like in this question, what I like assume, like what I notice is like location, like they say in first stage it is also there that if there is H. pylori, it affects antrum, like, and it relates to the malt, like lymphoma, and when it is autoimmune pernicious, it will affect the body and fundus of the stomach.
Mhm. Very good. All right. Okay, that was good. All right, what did I have to ask? All right. Okay, so okay, what's the treatment of what's the treatment? How do you treat ulcers?
For the H. pylori, we use the triple regime.
All right, what do you give? What's the triple regime?
That's the PPI, antibiotics, and the
Yes, the cap cap. So it's something that they call cap.
Very good.
Clindamycin.
It's clarithromycin, amoxicillin, and PPI.
Yeah, and then the protein pump inhibitor.
Exactly. And I think
But
it's clarithromycin or amoxicillin. If you cannot give, or if you have sensitivity, you give metronidazole. All right.
yeah,
I forgot what sensitivity was. Sometimes you also give quadruple therapy as well. You add bismuth, sometimes cyclate with it. All right. And usually you give triple therapy as well, and you remove the triggers as well, like no spicy food, no stress. Okay, and you give PPIs and the triple therapy along with it. So that's the treatment for ulcers. All right, then we're going to the last question, and then I will do a rapid.
When do we give quadruple therapy? What are the indications for this one?
That's a very good question. Why do we give quadruple therapy, guys, instead of triple therapy sometimes? Why?
If it is recurrent or the not resolving problem not getting resolved, so we can add the another bismuth because of recurrence too.
Yeah. Anybody else? You usually give quadruple therapy if the patient is resistant to antibiotics. All right. So you usually give quadruple therapy in those patients who have a high antibiotic resistance, making it more effective as a first line treatment. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. So this is the last question we are doing, and then I will be doing a rapid rewind of conditions. Okay, I will be throwing conditions at you, and I want you guys to diagnose them and give me the answer. All right. Okay. So H. pylori testing is negative. The patient undergoes a partial gastrectomy for refractory peptic ulcer disease. The pathologist receives a tissue and notes significant enlargement of the gastrobugal folds on cross-examination. All right. Microscopy of the gastric mucosa reveals parietal cell hyperplasia Which of the following stimuli is the most likely cause of the parietal cell proliferation in the patient? All right. So we have a 32-year-old man. He's come to the clinic for peptic ulcer disease follow-up. The patient has received several months of PPI without significant improvement. He does not use NSAIDs, tobacco, or alcohol. What's happening?
So
Zollinger-Ellison.
Zollinger-Ellison syndrome is developing.
Zollinger-Ellison gastrinoma. Zollinger-Ellison.
Because the patient is on PPI, and that is inhibiting the secretion of the acidic secretions inhibited. So because of negative feedback effect, it's not be inhibiting. So gastrin will be increased, and the parietal cells will be hypertrophic.
Again, yes, very good. So Zollinger-Ellison, we talked about that the patient will present with the increased gastrin production, and as a result, the patient will have a lot of ulcers throughout the duodenum. Also, the other thing is that the patient will also have diarrhea, heartburn. Remember, I told you guys diarrhea and heartburn. So it's very important that you kind of go through again. What is the treatment of Zollinger-Ellison? How do you treat it? You address the gastrin hypersecretion. Again, you give the triple therapy. All right.
Surgically removed. And the gastrinoma is surgically removed because of gastrinoma. We can remove it surgically.
Can we?
Dr. Main, there is something related with the vagus stimulation also, that they do something.
The gastrinoma?
Yeah, like
How we
in the
treat the
treatment of that.
Can we should remove it surgically? Gastrinoma.
You tell me. Can
Difficult
we?
to remove because near the pancreas.
Yes,
between.
I think.
So yeah, we can try to remove them, but gastrinomas are also kind of linked to MEN syndrome, if you remember, right? MEN type 1. Again, if the gastrinomas are not linked to MEN type 1 and there is no hereditary condition, then you usually do not remove them. Surgery is not recommended unless a gastrinoma is linked to any sort of MEN type 1 or any sort of aggressive tumor. All right. So the treatment is always medical. You always give PPIs. All right. You have to also put the patient on long-term PPI usage. Okay.
Thank you.
Is it clear? Okay. All right. So now I'm throwing questions and clinical vignettes at you guys. I want you to rapidly answer them. All right. Okay. So how are your studies going along? Are they good? How are your studies?
Yes,
Are they
haphazard.
good? They're going good?
Yes, trying to be.
Trying to be. Interesting. Okay. First question for today. A patient comes to you with enlarged tongue, right leg bigger than the left leg, mass in the flank, abdominal content protruding covered by peritoneum. What's that?
Omphalocele.
No.
And it is associated with Backwith-Weidman syndrome. It is the
Very good.
Backwith-Weidman syndrome. Yeah.
Very good, Dr. Rifat. It's Beckman-Weidman syndrome. Enlarged tongue. You remember
Yes.
that there is, heavy, the half of the body, organs start to get hypertrophy, right? So you have a hemihypertrophy. So enlarged tongue, right leg is bigger than the left leg. That is what I meant by hemihypertrophy, mass in the flank, and the abdominal content protruding covered by peritoneum. All right. So there is a newborn. He presents with coughing, drooling, choking with the first feed. Nasogastric tube encounters resistance.
Tracheoesophageal fistula.
CEF. CEF.
Esophageal fistula.
Very good. Esophageal atresia. So other question. Bullous emesis, double bubble sign on CXR associated with Down syndrome. What's that?
Duodenal
Duodenal
atresia.
atresia.
Very good. So bullous emesis, triple bubble sign on CXR, cocaine use. What's that?
Jejunal atresia.
Triple atresia. Jejunal and the ileal atresia.
Non-bullous projectile vomiting, olive-shaped mass in abdomen. What's that?
Hypertrophic
Pyloric
pyloric
stenosis.
stenosis.
Pyloric stenosis.
Very
HPS.
good. So newborn with respiratory distress, absent breath sounds unilaterally, heart sounds heard louder on the right side.
Congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
Which one? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Very
Yes,
good, Dr.
right.
Yes,
Fazil.
yes, it's on the right
Diaphragmatic
side.
Yeah,
hernia.
congenital diaphragmatic hernia.
Very good. Infant failure of processes vaginalis to close, lateral to inferior
Indirect
epigastric.
hernia.
Indirect.
Indirect hernia.
Indirect.
Very good. Elder male, weakness of transversalis fascia.
Direct hernia.
Direct
Direct.
hernia.
Direct hernia.
Very good. Female, below the inguinal ligament.
Femoral
What?
hernia.
Femoral.
Femoral.
Very good. Okay. Sorry. Causes salivary gland swelling and pain, alcoholic, bulimia, Jordan syndrome. What's that?
Parathyroid.
Sjogren syndrome. Anorexia nervosa.
No.
Sila-
Cialo
Cyanodenitis.
Aptos.
What was the first man?
So what you
I
asked?
think it's aptos.
What was the
Huh?
first
So
man?
I asked, this condition causes salivary gland swelling and pain, alcoholic, bulimia, Jordan syndrome.
Sialadenitis.
Sialadenitis.
Very good. Sialolithiasis. Very good.
Lithiasis, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Dysphagia to
adenoid.
solids and liquids, bird weak appearance on CXR. What's that?
Achalasia.
Osophageal.
No, also
Achalasia.
Achalasia. Yes, achalasia.
Very good. Esophagitis in AIDS patient, and they have white pseudomembrane. What's that?
Candida.
CM.
Candida.
Cytomegalo.
Very good.
Look,
Punched
Candida
out
esophagitis.
ulcers. Where do you see punched out ulcers?
It's also that's for HSV, herpes simplex virus for punched out.
Very good.
Yes.
mhm.
Okay. High
Pancreas.
BMI, nighttime cough, epigastric burning. What's happening?
GERD.
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 Good.
Very
Good.
good. Symmetrical narrowing of the esophagus, dysphagia to solids after drinking a toxic chemical. What's happening?
Corrosive
Corrosive
esophagitis.
esophagitis. Corrosive.
Strictures, esophageal strictures. Whenever
Strictures. Strictures.
you drink any toxic chemical, what's happening is that you always intubate the patient first. Why are you intubating the patient first? Because of the development of esophageal strictures, which are more likely going to happen. All right.
Mhm.
So dysphagia along to solids after drinking toxic chemical, most likely esophageal stricture. Okay. Other question. Dysphagia, young patient with past medical history of asthma and eczema. What's happening?
Eosinophilic esophagitis.
Esophagitis.
Eosinophilic.
Atopic. Mhm.
Very good. Elder
Atopic
patient
esophagitis.
with bad breath, regurgitates food, progressive dysphagia. What's that?
Diverticulum.
Dental
Diverticulum.
Anchor.
Very good. Acid reflux, finger pain in the cold, telangiectasis on the skin. What's happening?
Crust syndrome.
Crest syndrome.
Yes.
Systemic sclerosis.
Very
Yes,
good.
crust.
So you have dysphagia, low hemoglobin, hematocrit, low MCV. What's happening?
Microcytic
No.
iron deficiency anemia.
Right.
Plummer.
Plummer-Vinson.
Very good. Plummer-Vinson syndrome. You have
Vincent syndrome. Yeah.
iron deficiency, esophageal webs.
Mhm.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Vincent.
Okay. Epigastric burning, deep ulceration in the esophagus, potassium chloride or bisphosphonate use.
Pill-induced esophagitis.
Used. Yes.
Very good. Pill-induced esophagitis. So you have alcoholic, bulimia, hematemesis, linear tear. What's happening?
Mallory Weiss.
Mallory Weiss.
Yes.
Yes.
Mallory Weiss. Very good. What if you have severe chest pain and crepitus on palpation? What will you have?
Bohebs.
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 Perhaps.
Very good. Hematemesis, bright red blood in stool and alcohol use. What's that?
Gastric
Cirrhosis or the CMD
Cirrhosis.
portal
Okay.
hypertension because of portal hypertension.
Portal
Exactly.
hypertension.
Esophageal varices.
varices.
Very
Yeah.
good. Esophageal varices. Very good. All right. Progressive dysphagia, weight loss, past medical history of GERD. What do you have?
Adenocarcinoma.
Adenocarcinoma. Barrett's
Adenocarcinoma.
esophagus.
Of the
Adenocarcinoma.
esophagus.
Adenocarcinoma.
Very good. Adenocarcinoma. Progressive dysphagia, weight loss. You are a smoker, alcoholic.
Squamous cell.
Squamous cell
Squamous cell.
Squamous cell
Squamous
carcinoma.
Squamous cell
Very
carcinoma.
good. Substernal chest pain, dysphagia during episode, negative ECG.
Oh,
Last line.
Stable,
Substernal chest pain,
Come again?
dysphagia during episode, negative
stable angina.
Negative for
esophageal spasm.
Sorry, come again.
So you have substernal chest pain, dysphagia during episode, negative ECG.
ECG negative. Okay, the gastritis.
Esophageal spasm.
GERD.
It's good.
No,
DS.
esophageal spasm.
Diffuse esophageal.
DES.
Oh, DS.
Diffuse
DS.
esophageal spasm. Yes.
DES. Yes, very good.
Oh,
So DES can present like a heart attack. All right.
okay.
Remember, DES can present like a heart attack, but again, it's usually dysphagia during the episode, and you will have negative ECG. So you can rule out by ECG. You always have to first do ECG. All right. Okay. Next
Okay.
question. Pain worse with eating, low hemoglobin, high MCV, history of type 1 diabetes mellitus, and Hashimoto's. What's that?
Immune immune mediated eosinophilic.
Autoimmune gastritis.
Very
Autoimmune
good.
gastritis.
Very good, Inaya. Very good. Autoimmune gastritis. I told you autoimmune diseases go together. History of type 1, diabetes, and Hashimoto's. Again, pain worse with eating. So that's autoimmune gastritis. All right. Epigastric pain worse with food. NSAIDs use or H. pylori. What's that?
Answer. H. pylori.
H. pylori.
H. pylori gastritis.
Very
Acute
good.
gastric.
Gastric ulcer. So I said worse with food, it's gastric ulcer. If it is better with food, then that's duodenal ulcer.
peptic,
Okay.
peptic.
Okay. Then we have epigastric pain, guarding, rigidity, bloody stool, air under the diaphragm.
Perforated viscous.
Perforation.
Necrotizing enterocolitis.
Toxic megacolon get perforated because of ulcerative colitis.
Exactly. So whenever you have air under the diaphragm, that means that it's perforated. All right. So there is some air, which means that the esophagus is now esophagus is intact, but the ulcer has now been perforated. All right. So what if you see multiple ulcers and mass in the pancreas?
Carcinoid.
Gastrinoma. Zollinger Ellison.
Gastrinoma. Very good.
Gastrinoma.
Okay.
Yes.
So you
Isn't
have
it the same thing as Dr. Maheen?
what?
The gastrinoma and Zollinger-Ellison.
So gastrinoma is a condition to which Zollinger-Ellison syndrome is pertaining. All right. Because of gastrinoma, we are developing Zollinger-Ellison. Right?
Okay. Yes, yes.
And gastrinoma, it is a condition which is causing increased gastrin. That is ultimately causing Zollinger-Ellison syndrome condition that's comprising, a triad of heartburn, and you have diarrhea, and you have ulcers throughout the duodenal column. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Then, okay. So what if you have early satiety, weight loss, enlarged supraclavicular lymph node, and East Asian descent? What's happening?
Adenocarcinoma.
Very good. That's gastric cancer. All right. Okay. We are done with, no, I have a few more questions. I'm sorry, guys, but it's for your own betterment. Do you guys have any questions to ask me? No? Okay. So what if you have diarrhea after eating and there is low hemoglobin and MCV, low D-xylose in the serum, there are vesicles on the forearm? What's happening?
Celiac.
Celiac. Very good.
Oh,
So vesicles on forearm, which means I'm referring to dermatitis
Dermatitis
herpetiformis.
herpetiformis.
Okay. Dermatic.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
good.
Mhm.
Okay. And how do you treat dermatitis herpetiformis? What do you give? Dapsone or what? Dapsone.
Topical
Okay.
steroid.
You do give, but sometimes it gets treated with Dapsone as well.
Dapsone.
All right.
Dapsone.
Okay. So now you have a patient with bloating and diarrhea after drinking milk, and he has low stool pH. What's happening?
Lactose intolerance.
Lactose intolerant.
Celiac.
Very good. You have steatorrhea, night blindness, bone pain, clotting problems. D xylose test is normal. What's happening?
Pancreatic insufficiency,
Pancreas?
Yes,
malabsorption because
yeah,
of
vitamin A deficiency cause blindness. So
fat
ADEK.
soluble vitamin deficiencies.
TI,
Mhm.
the pancreatic insufficiency.
So you have diarrhea, which is usually watery. You have oral ulcers, skip lesion, right-sided abdominal pain, non-kissating granulomas, calcium oxalate, kidney stones associated with fistulas, fissures, and
Crohn's,
fractures.
Celiac
Very
disease.
good.
Crohn's.
disease.
Crohn's
Crohn's.
disease.
Very good. So you have bloody diarrhea, left-sided abdominal pain, continuous lesions associated with
Ulcerative
cirrhosis.
Ulcerative.
Ulcerative colitis.
Very good. Okay, abdominal pain that improves with defecation.
Irritable bowel syndrome.
IBS.
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 Very
Yes.
good. Okay. So you have diarrhea, microscopy shows mononuclear cells. What's that?
CMV.
No, microscopic colitis.
Oh.
Okay. So whenever you have diarrhea plus microscopy is showing mononuclear cells, that means you're talking about microscopic colitis. All right.
Lymphocytosis. Yes, mononucleosis.
Okay. So now you have diarrhea, joint pain, PAS is positive, macrophages and lamina propria. What's happening?
Yeah, Whipple's.
Ripples.
Very good.
Whipple.
Okay. Periumbilical pain that migrates to the right lower quadrant, tenderness at McBurney's, high WBC.
Appendicitis.
Appendicitis.
Very good. So you have elderly patient, constipation, outpouchings on CT. What's that?
Diverticulosis.
Diverticulosis.
Very good. Elderly, left lower quadrant pain, constipation, fever, high WBC.
Diverticulitis.
Litis.
Very good. Very good. So you now have an infant who has a failure to pass meconium in greater than 48 hours, positive squirt sign associated with Down syndrome.
Mecos. Hirschsprung.
Hirschsprung. Very good.
Hirschsprung.
Very good. Failure to pass meconium, again, greater than 48 hours, that's usually Hirschsprung disease. All right. So now you have an infant, failure to pass in greater than 48 hours, but now it is associated with cystic fibrosis.
Meconium ileus.
Meconium ileus.
Very good. Okay. Now you have an infant, bright red jelly stool, intermittent abdominal pain, and you also see a bullseye on the ultrasound.
Bubbulous.
Interception.
Interception. Bubbulous.
Current
Very
prayer.
good.
Yes.
Okay. So you have now persistent bilious vomiting, distended abdomen, fibrous LAD bands.
Lad bands.
Malrotations. Yeah, that's a malrotation with the
Very
lad
good.
bands.
Malrotation. Very good. That's malrotation. Okay. Elderly with constipation, distended abdomen, coffee bean on sign on X-ray. What's that?
Coffee bean sign. Sigmoid volvulus.
Very good. Okay. Now you have past surgery history. Abdominal distension can cause small bowel obstruction. What's that?
Short bowel syndrome.
Ischemia. No?
Adhesions. So you know,
Adhesions. Oh, past surgical history.
exactly. Any past surgical history where you have had, abdominal surgery, and now the patient is presenting to you with abdominal distensions and he has small bowel obstructions. Most likely cause of small bowel obstruction in a surgical patient is adhesions. All right. Okay. Painless GI bleed, crescendo, decrescendo at second right ICS. What's that?
Crescendo, decrescendo.
This is something angio.
Angiodysplasia.
Angiodysplasia. Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
Very good. Angiodysplasia. So you have cramping, abdominal pain after eating, past medical history of hypertension, CAD, and diabetes mellitus. What's that?
Gastroparesis.
It's the post-prandial.
No. No.
Postprandial.
No.
Could you repeat again? Could you repeat again?
Can you repeat it, Miss Mahima?
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it again. Just hush.
Yes, please repeat again. Please repeat again.
Okay. So you have cramping, abdominal pain after eating. You have a past medical history of hypertension, CAD, and diabetes mellitus. What's that?
So it's the
Co-
ischemic
Ischemia,
This is-
ischemia,
colitis.
and water.
Ischemic
Aneurysm.
colitis.
Sorry, tell me colon ischemia.
Exactly. So you
Watershed
have
area.
mesenteric ischemia, all right?
Ischemia, yeah.
This is mesenteric ischemia, all right? Then
Ischemia.
we have premature baby, villous vomiting, bloody bowel movement, abdominal distension. X-ray shows air within the bowel. What's that?
Neck,
Necrosis.
Necrosis.
necrotizing
Necrotizing necrosis.
neck, yeah.
Neck.
Necrotizing enterocolitis.
Because
Mhm.
the baby is premature and having the air in the bowel walls, the pneumobilia, yeah, and also the pneumobilia. So it is the necrotizing enterocolitis.
Necrosis.
Very good. So you have thousands of adenomatous polyps, APC gene mutation. What's that?
FAB. That's
FAP.
familial
Follow.
adenomatous
FAP.
polyposis. FAB.
Prone to
Colorectal
colon cancer.
Yes,
Colorectal.
colorectal.
It's FAP,
Mhm.
familial adenomatosis polyposis. All right.
Mhm.
What do you mean by hyperpigmentation on lips and hematomas on colon?
Pew Jaggers.
Peutz Jeghers.
Pews
Very good.
Jaggers.
Peutz Jeghers. All right. So now you have colon cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer. What does that mean?
Mutation of the
Lynch,
That's
oncogenes.
METYH.
Very good. Lynch syndrome.
Lynch.
Lynch syndrome.
Lynch
Okay.
syndrome.
Mutation.
It is the
Okay.
non-polyposis, familiar, hereditary non-polyposis colorectal carcinoma,
Very good.
Lynch
HNPCC.
syndrome, and
Alright.
it is associated with the
Lynch syndrome.
mismatch repair mutation. No.
Okay. So elderly, low hemoglobin, low MCV, colonoscopy shows exophytic mass.
Elderly colorectal,
Elderly colorectal? No, wait. You said elderly, low. Low what?
elderly microcytic anemia.
Colorectal cancer.
Colorectal carcinoma.
Colorectal.
Very good. What sided? Right sided, left sided?
Right sided. Right sided.
Right-sided.
Very good. Iron deficiency anemia in an adult patient is most likely colon cancer until proven otherwise. And if the colonoscopy is showing exophytic mass, it's most likely right-sided colon cancer. Left-sided colon cancer presents as, with constipation, and the colonoscopy will show an infiltrating mass because they're usually like less aggressive. All right. So we are done for today, guys. I have some remaining questions I will be asking you tomorrow. All right. We are done for today. Do you have any questions to ask?
Can we be doing this after every section? Because it's really nice. I like this rapid
Thank you,
review.
Dr. Mahin. It's very nice.
You guys enjoyed it?
Yes,
Yes, we have revised
very much so. Yes.
all the GI.
Yeah. So I will be doing this more, but I usually don't get because I'm, really busy with my residency onboarding. I have to, do so many things all together. And then I was sick. But don't worry, I will do it after every session because, whatever I'm discussing, that's very high yield. So those topics are very high yield. You need to know the basic picture. This is the disease. All right. That's it. You don't have to memorize anything extra. Whatever we're discussing in the class, that's enough for you to pass step 1. All right. Okay, so I will be doing the remaining questions tomorrow as well. And is Dr. Ahmed over here? Hello, Dr. Ahmed, are you here? He is not. I think he is busy.
They shared a new link for the next class.
Link.
Oh, they shared another link? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, okay, guys. Then you
Thank
guys
you.
can end the
Thank you.
session and you can go. He's waiting for you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. Keep continuing your hard work. You're welcome, guys. Yes, Dr. Mossam, you have. All right. Bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
All right.